It's April 2022. This is video number 308, and the shocking news is that the Great Reset is no longer just a nightmare for us and an aspiration in the toxic minds of a bunch of the most evil conspirators ever known. The Great Reset is now frighteningly close to the scary conclusion we've all been dreading. We are already living within an oppressive, restrictive, faux communist society based on digital control and progressing rapidly towards a complete lack of individuality and freedom. Anyone who denies this is either very, very ignorant, very, very stupid, or bought and paid for in part of the nightmare. Most people, the collaborators, are dead, but they don't realize it yet. This is the laxative video I never wanted to have to make. Everything is now happening very rapidly. Anyone who's surprised at rising prices and rising inflation obviously didn't watch my videos a year ago. Just about everything significant that's happening to us was predictable. Inflation's not going to stop at 10%, by the way. I remember people grabbing mortgage loans at 15% with enthusiasm. If you find that frightening, then how bad will things be when interest rates really get going and inflation hits 10,000%? Nothing is now impossible. Look at the history of Argentina. Inflation hit 10,000% there and now seems to be nicely settled in at 50%. Look at Germany just under a century ago and see how inflation brought about real political changes. Everything is part of the plan leading the world into the biggest recession since the 1930s, as I've been predicting for longer than I like to remember, and possibly worse than that. Closing down Russia's access to its own dollars will cost us all huge amounts of money. The New World Order is already here. We're living in it, and things are going to get far, far worse during the coming months because we're now already in the kill phase of the Great Reset. Decisions are made by or according to the demands of a tiny group of lobbyists and cultists who've been manipulated into representing the interests of the conspirators, either wittingly, unwittingly, or through stupidity and ignorance. We're being controlled by conspirators who control the sort of people who believe that gluing themselves to the road in front of an ambulance is a good thing to do. The world is full of people who think that those of us who worry about what's happening are half-crazed conspiracy theorists. But the odd thing is that most of the people who think we are conspiracy theorists are themselves concerned about things that are happening and that have affected them. The problem is they haven't looked at the big picture. They don't realize that all the bad things that are happening and that have happened in the last few years are all connected. COVID-19, global warming, the manipulated war against Russia, the war against us, the deliberately destroyed global economy, the price rises, the inflation, they are all linked. The innocents have failed to put two and two together, partly because they've been too busy worrying about individual threats to their daily lives, partly because they find it difficult to believe that anyone could conceive of a plot as evil as the one that's been underway for years, partly because they're naive, unquestioning, and too ready to believe what they're told by an utterly corrupt mainstream media, and partly because right from the start those of us who've told the truth have been demonized, lied about, censored, suppressed, and very effectively silenced by the mainstream media. The fact is that if we don't work together harder than we've ever worked, then it will all be over long before Christmas. Sir Klaus Schwab, knighted by Queen Elizabeth for services to conspiracy, will be the unelected king of an entirely corrupt world government. Schwab, a 40s villain from Central Casting, a cross between Dr. Strangelove, Ernst Blofeld and Dr. Mengele, will be surrounded by a gang of C-list crooks, conspirators and celebrities. If we're not careful, we're going to be controlled by those I regard as sad, sorry, second-rate human beings, people such as Fauci, Whitty, shabby little civil servants, and Gates, a friend of Jeffrey Epstein and the BBC. If Epstein was still alive, the BBC would give him a chat show. I wish you'd learn. There's a time and place for everything. I've got to get it through.
Hey, wait a minute. You're supposed to be on the moon. I just saw it on TV.
Oh, there's a tape delay and with all solar winds.